Hello parents and welcome back to Parent Shift, a place where we speak about conscious parenting. Let's explore this very important theme of carefully watching and patiently correcting your children. In fact, one of the most important things that I want you to remember is that parenting is a full-time responsibility. And if this is being ignored, then you need to take several actions and make sure that you are there. Stay with me as I discuss these things in this video, and there are 5 very critical anchors of parenting that I'm going to speak about today. 5 places where your child absolutely needs you to come through for it. If you do this, the child will at least be able to ensure that its potential is properly tuned. Its possibilities are something that it depends on its luck. When potential meets possibility is when your child will find success. So ensure that you as a parent are doing everything possible and in your control to ensure that the child's potential is sharpened. And as you watch this video, do leave your comments of what helped you, and I will then be able to process it further and do more in the direction of what's helping you. Now, to begin with, when I say carefully watch and patiently correct, remember the first thing, that your child needs you to grow up. Your child needs you to mature properly. And what is this maturation? This maturation is how its thinking, how its psychological adaptation, its social adaptation, its cultural adaptation is happening. Of this, one of the most important things is how the child's own psyche is developing. Or as in transactional analysis, we would say, you have to understand how the ego states of the child are evolving in a clean and proper fashion. Now let's understand, everything that you do in parenting is going to go and create a certain kind of parenting instruction in its mind. And this is where you and your spouse need to have a very consistent, positive, constructive style of parenting. Consistent, positive and constructive style of parenting. You ignore any one of these things and you will find the child struggling with instructions that you give. And if the parental instructions are not clear to the child's own maturity is going to get hampered because it will not be able to self-regulate it. Remember, you as a parent are a significant voice in the child's mind. Like when you teach the child discipline, if the child has learned discipline from both its parents, which means you not only say, but you also display and award what is discipline to the child, then the child learns and practices it and it's going to consistently do this. Whereas, if you give messages of discipline but the child is not learning it properly because you are not disciplined or one of the two of you is indisciplined, then the child is going to be very confused with how to approach the various things in life. So in that area of discipline, the child is not going to mature, and so many other areas what happens. So the parental recording in the child's mind is very important. What this also does is, as the child has consistent, positive and constructive parental recordings in its mind, the child also experiments this with this world and it learns to integrate and make meaning of this world. And as it makes meaning of this world, it also learns to apply simple logic initially and over a period of time more complex logic. And as the child matures, it's also able to handle complexities and ambiguities. And that is evolving its adult functioning in life. So the parental recordings and the way it experiences the world are also very much responsible for the way its adult recordings and its adult ego state appears in life. And the same parental recordings are also responsible for helping the child understand that the kind of logic it's learning, the kind of experiences it has, how does it still stay that little child also at the same time to preserve its curiosity, creativity, fun, laughter and all the things which are natural to the child as the child is born. So appropriate parenting is hugely responsible for what gets recorded as internal voices of a child and its own self-regulation, what is the meaning that it is making of this world, and how the child still remains a child on deep down inside in terms of curiosity, etc. So it remains childlike and doesn't have childish behaviors. Childish are the bad behaviors or unregulated impulsive behaviors. So it's not childish, but it's childlike. So appropriate parenting, appropriate parent, adult and child states are created by appropriate parenting, and this is real maturation. If you want more, if you want to learn more about this, you must explore deep aspects of transactional analysis, especially books like I Am Okay, You Are Okay by Thomas Harris, or you could read several other books by the founder of transactional analysis, Eric Berne himself, like Games People Play, etc. They have beautiful description of how a human being's psyche evolves and what you can do as a parenting. The second big thing that you need to learn and understand here is that as you are working with your child, as you try to teach your child, as you try to watch your child grow, as you are helping your child with various things in life, as you are carefully watching and patiently correcting, not everything is going to go exactly according to your expectations, exactly according to your hope that it will go like that. Like the child may not always do exactly the same way in academics or sports or other things, or its habits may not turn out exactly the same way, or the child is going to make mistakes every once in a while. And depending on the age group of the child, like if the child is 5 or 8 or 12, it's also going to display some age appropriate behaviors which may also be childish behaviors, like I said, and they may not be as innocent and childlike. Like the child may try to, give you a slip, lie a little, cheat a little, or be lazy, or do certain other unregulated things. So all of that has happened, and this is where you need to understand that you cannot get irritated, angry, or impatient with the child. That's a second pillar for you to remember. So as you do the first pillar, that you should be there for the child to mature, you should also not get irritated, angry, or impatient. Because when you do that, you're sending a very wrong signal, you're sending a very negative stroke to the child. And every time you give the child a negative attention, a negative stroke, the child might just pick up that hint, and just to get your attention, it might end up doing a lot more of that negative habit. Or if the child feels extremely criticized, then the child says, anyways, I'm going to get criticized, so why do the good things at all? It is going to do more and more of the negative. So don't be impatient, don't be angry, don't be irritated with your child. Make the child feel loved, because if you as a parent are not going to value your child's presence there, if you as a parent are going to give a very unwanted and challenging message to the child's self-worth can greatly get damaged. The stories that you tell your child about your child are the stories that then multiply in the child's mind about itself. So if you give child hope, the child's story will be hopeful. If you give hopelessness to the child, then the child's story will be hopeless. If you give peace and joy and love to the child's stories will be of peace, love and joy. But if you give anger, irritation and impatience to the child is again going to pick up these habits and create that self-worth. And not only is that self-worth going to come in, it is also going to have these habits come into its social life. It's going to imitate your behaviors and do it with others, and that's going to be a significant challenge for its own social skills and what the child is doing. So be very careful how you are parenting, because that parenting then is also becoming the child's benchmark of acceptable behaviors in life. Now, the third thing, now these are two base behaviors or two foundation behaviors, and let me call these the foundation behaviors that be there for your child to mature, and number two, don't get irritated, angry or impatient. With this, now starts the real job of parenting, and here are three buckets of things that you need to do. Number one, you need to teach your child. So this is the third behavior in continuation of our video, and the most important thing that you need to do for the child with the foundation behaviors. Teach your child self-regulation, social skills and success behaviors. So as much as I said in first point that your parental instructions and behaviors are going to be a lot of the instructions, but you also need to consciously work on your child and say, Hey, how do you create a timetable for yourself? How do you create a daily structure for yourself? Waking up on time, eating on time, playing on time, doing other things on time, hygiene, all of those kind of things, dressing properly, keeping your room neat. And then comes the social skill. How do you talk to others? How do you greet? What is disrespect? What is respect? And both ways. What is respect to you and what is respect to others? What is disrespect to you? What is disrespect to others? So the concept of boundaries, the concept of getting along with others, the concept of performance, all of these things are very important in the world out there. And lastly comes the whole essence of success behaviors, and these are how do you go about doing things, how do you study, how do you play, how do you pursue an art, how do you pursue a certain hobby. The child needs a lot of instructions, and some of you must be wondering, this is so much of work, and yes it is. That's why I keep saying that parenting is a full-time responsibility. So in what you need to teach your child is not necessarily the academic things alone. It is actually self-regulation, social skills and success behaviors that you need to teach. You need to role model these behaviors for the child, because your words alone will not matter. Remember, the child hears you, but it watches you and learns. So whatever you are telling the child about self-regulation, social behaviors and success behaviors, if you are not practicing them, your child is unlikely to learn them and perform them. Even if you preach, the child will not follow this. And this is why many times you see one or both the parents trying to chase the child for healthy behavior, studying hard, etc. But the child doesn't see you doing that. So the child says, if my parents are not studying, why should I? If my parents are not learning and changing and improving every single day, why do I? If my parents have so many bad social behaviors, why should I correct myself? So remember this. When I say teach your child, these are things that you need to role model as much as you tell them the conceptual framework. When you tell them, you're conceptually explaining them. When you show them how to do it, you're giving them real life benchmarks and examples of how to do this. So the first set of things that you need to do for your child with the foundation behaviors are teach your child self-regulation, social skills and success behaviors. The fourth behavior in our chain of things that we spoke about, and the second important thing that you need to do for your child, is train your child on respect, excellence, handling failures, coexistence, compassion and gratitude. These are specific things, and mostly these can be classified as important values or important virtues to have in life. They need to know what does respect really mean, both for themselves and both for others. And they need to know how to pursue excellence in studies, in sports and in various things that they do, including excellence of behavior. They also need to know that in doing things when they fail, what do they need to do? How do they need to make sense of failure? How do they do a root cause analysis and say, hey, why did I fail? What was the challenge? Was it a timing challenge? Was it an effort challenge? Was it a presentation challenge? Or it's that failure was naturally supposed to happen because it takes some time to succeed in certain things. So some of that. And also then helping the child understand concepts like coexistence, existing with others, being a team player, being friends with others, being a good sibling, being a good relative, being a good citizen for that matter of fact. And that sense of coexistence needs to lead into compassion. So when you find somebody who has a pain or suffering, how do you then help others, think about others or keep others in the consideration and work? And lastly, for all the blessings of life and everything that was given and everything that was denied, how do you really have gratitude towards life, nature, God and all of that? This is what you really need to train a child. When I said teach self-regulation, social skills and success, there's a lot of conceptual elements to those things. But when I said train your child on these things, here are very specific things that you'll have to constantly keep telling the child to do, not to do, why to do, why not to do. So there's a lot of hands-on skill building that's there. In the first category, you are telling the child a lot of structures, etc. But here you are showing the child a lot of very specific behaviors in everyday life and what to do. And lastly, the fifth big behavior and the third important thing that you need to help your child with is anchor your child deeply on God, customs, science, and also some essence of social structures and the art of living. And that anchoring is very important, because in today's time we increasingly see that in almost all our families, the children have forgotten about our ancient knowledge, our Shastras, importance of Vedas, importance of Upanishads, importance of teachings which are there in any other religion that you follow, your Islam or Christianity or wherever your rootings are. But even in our Bharatiya culture, there is so much of grounding around Vedas, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, the Brahma Sutras, the process of chanting, the process of puja, process of yoga in itself, and so many other philosophical elements that gives you a lot of clarity. The one powerful thing about our own Bharatiya Shastra and history is that we have a lot of information and a lot of guidance sitting there in all of our scriptures and in all of our history. We only need to go seek the information and implement it in life. However, when you look at the Western society and the Western understanding, it is philosophers who have raised the question. They have not had the depth of Rishimunis and those kind of texts which are there. So they do find the answer, but it's a process of inquiry and contemplation. Here, there is a deep process of Adhyayan, Manan, Chintan that we can do. That you get a grounding of the Vedas, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, etc. And then on top of that, you are doing contemplation. When you have a good solid basis, and the base which is standing there for a long time, then it helps. And here is a simple thing for us to understand. You can teach a child science, but science and all other subjects are like a small dictionary. Then you could have an encyclopedia from where you can learn. But our Vedas and Shastras, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, etc., is like a huge library. What can you learn from a dictionary? What more can you learn from an encyclopedia? But how much can you learn from a library? Think about this. And that's where there is so much in our Shastras and so much in the Bharatiya culture, so much in the Sanatana Dharma culture, that you can actually build your grounding for the child, that the child really flourishes. World over, there is a curiosity about Hinduism and our Eastern culture. People from all over the world are coming and learning practices like yoga, Ayurveda, etc. We ourselves as Bharatiyas need to start respecting these and anchor our children deeply on these things. So my encouragement to you, understand our customs, understand the science behind it, understand the social aspects of what our Shastras are teaching, understand the various concepts of God, puja, archana, etc. and anchor your children deeply on this, because a very solid aspect of character formation essentially is going to happen from here. So those are the 5 big things that you need to do. So when I say carefully watching and patiently correcting your children, and that parenting is a full-time job, what are you doing? You are being there for the child to grow up and mature. You are ensuring that you don't get irritated, angry or impatient with the child. These are 2 foundational rules. Then you're teaching your child self-regulation, social skills and success behaviors, training your child on respect, excellence, handling failures, coexistence, compassion and gratitude, and finally anchoring your child on God, our Shastras, our culture, Vedas, Upanishads, Brahma Sutras, Bhagavad Gita, etc. and the customs and science there, and the various aspects of social skills and the art that is spoken about there. Learn well, because to be a good parent, you have to deeply develop your own capability. It's your job to learn these, because it was your choice to become a parent. If you've made that effort to become a parent, along with everything that you're doing, including trying to earn a livelihood and give a better lifestyle to your family, please make sure that you keep parenting as an utmost priority. Getting through with life and not having done parenting will be a huge disservice to the choice that you have made. Parenting is a full-time job. Give it that time and respect that it deserves.